Hello everybody, today I'm going to be making my very first tutorial I've ever made on how I made my Sal Fisher mask. There are plenty of ways on making a mask for him. I have been through two other ones myself, this one and this one. This is the one that I am most satisfied with. It is a little bit flimsy, unfortunately, but besides that it is super good quality. It's got actual snaps on it. And I'm going to be showing you how I made it today. So before we get started, there is a list of supplies that we are going to need. My list is very long. Some of these things you might see as optional. Please feel free to change what I do to suit what you're comfortable with. Starting us off, we're going to need some white and purple paint to mix our own color. Some of these little plastic cups to put paint in. Some people use one of these and that's fine. Different size paintbrushes, a cup of water, silver paint. I got my black elastics at Walmart, a hot glue gun and glue sticks, a sewing needle and thread, 2 black clips, an X-Acto knife, a lighter, a black Sharpie, a lightly colored color pencil, the smallest size googly eye, 16 of them, a ruler, scissors, tape, 2 sheets of foam in brown and gray, a mirror, black paint, gray or black eyeshadow, and a mask. Before we get into the actual tutorial, I'm gonna tell you about the different types of masks I've used and why I chose them and why I don't recommend them. This was my first Sal Fisher mask. It is obviously incredibly detailed. It's not really my style. This is actually the same mask as what we will be working with today. It's a decent mask. There's not really anything wrong with it except for the physical flaws of my work on it. The second mask that I had is this one. It is a lot wider. Both of these masks are from Michael's craft store. I don't recommend this one because it is very shiny. You can't really see it in the camera, but it is very shiny. It makes you look really greasy. It looks like the outside of this mask is sweating. It's also very wide, like there's probably like an inch of space between my face and the mask. It would be great for somebody who has a really wide face, I feel like, but it also is just not the right kind of texture of something I want to be working with. The paint chips really easily. Overall, it's so thick and heavy duty and it's hard to cut and it's not worth it. For my current mask, this is a mask that I got on Amazon. This is so far my favorite one I have worked with. It is a little bit flimsy. As long as you're careful with it, that's fine though. If I had the time to order another mask, I would order this one, but I went out and bought one of the ones that I've previously worked with because it does the trick. It's fine. As far as texture goes, this one is probably the easiest one to work with. However, it does stain very easily. Something else you'll want to do before you get started is you're going to want to find some reference photos of your favorite masks, source what his mask looks like and which version of it you'd like to do, because he does have one when he's younger that is all one piece, and then when he's older, his has a little piece of tape on it. So let's get started. So getting right into the tutorial, we're going to take our lightly colored color pencil and we're going to shape out the eye shape that we want. I only work on the top of the eye because I don't want to bring the bottom of the eye down any further. You'll be able to see too much of your face underneath it. Now I'm taking the X-Acto knife and I'm shaving away at the parts that I drew on. Be really careful when you're working with the X-Acto knife and try your best to only work from the inside of the mask so that the outside of the mask isn't sharp. Just go as slowly as you need to. I kind of give him a little bit of like a droopy eye, so they're a little more doughy and cute. The eye shape of this mask is not exactly the ideal shape for me. It's more of a teardrop than I'd like. So look in your mirror, keep an eye to make sure that you're shaving them down evenly. And if they're not even, just continue shaving until you get a consistency that you're happy with. Now that I have cut the eyes, I am going to do a line across the forehead and try it on, make sure that it's not up or down too far. Mine was up a little too far, so I brought it down a little. And I start cutting it with the X-Acto knife, and then I immediately remember that I have scissors for a reason, so I just cut the top of the mask off. One of the other reasons I didn't want to use the really high quality mask is because it's really hard to cut. So this mask is perfect. Now we're going to take the lighter and we're going to melt the edges. Only work from the outside of the mask if at all possible. You can do a little here and there from the inside, but if you work from the outside, you will burn the mask, which is something I actually do in this video. and it does help you get a little bit easier of a range when it comes to cutting it. So just melt the sides and press them down, and you can mold the outside of the eye so it's not sharp or jagged. It gives it a little bit of like an aesthetic look to it. It makes it a little bit spookier, but keeps it not all jagged and gross looking. So work slowly and just build up how you'd like it to look. Make sure you're keeping an eye in the mirror, that you're doing it evenly. And you can see there I burnt the outside of the mask. I try to take a little bit of water to it, but it obviously doesn't work. Luckily, it's on the side that we'll be painting, so it's not that big of a deal, but it's still not ideal. Also do the top of it, because if you don't, the top of it will be very hard. Pro tip, a little bit of nail polish remover on the mask will help keep it clean during the process, because it will inevitably get kind of dirty from you touching it with your hands and on the table where you're working and stuff. Now I'm going to make 4 little holes on, or 2 holes on each side. When you're cutting it, do 1 line on either side and then cut the bottom. I'm going to show it. So cut 1 and then the other side. It's a little tough, so please be careful. And then cut the bottom of it. Just like that, but please be careful. X-Acto knives are so sharp. I don't want you to get sepsis. There we go. And then you can just peel the top of it. Now I'm going to check and make sure that my elastic fits in it, and if it doesn't, I am going to just extend this part a little bit. Check and make sure that they fit. We'll be sewing those to it eventually. So again, you can see I'm making 2 incisions and then cutting the bottom and then peeling the top of it, checking to make sure that my elastic fits. Now onto the last one. See, that one ripped, but if that happens, which it's very easy to happen, just take a little piece of tape and tape it back down. As long as you can still fit the elastic through the hole, you're good. Don't forget to plug your hot glue gun in. This is your reminder, go do it now. So now I'm gonna mix my purple and white to make a nice like pastel-y purple color. I prefer mixing my own colors because it does give me more of a range of the specific color that I'd like. Also, I'm cheap, so I buy my paint at the dollar store, and they didn't have a nice purple shade there, so I just bought the darkest purple they had and a white, and I mixed it to be a nice like purpley pink color. I just used the end of my paintbrush to stir the color in. Now I'm going to take my color pencil and very, very lightly draw a line of where I would like the paint to go. And I'm going to clean off the bottom of my brush. And now I'm going to put our first layer of paint on it. Obviously it's not taking super well because it is only the first layer, and I believe in this tutorial I go over it 3 times. We just gotta paint this one and then let it dry. Yay! So don't forget to clean your brushes off, they're expensive. We don't want to let them dry up. Okay, so now I'm just turning my table because I've only got so much space. Take a piece of the tape, flip it up towards the ceiling, and then tape it down on either side so the sticky part is up. Take all your tiny googly eyes and stick them to it. Beautiful. So now we're going to take our silver paint, pour it in a cup, grab another paintbrush, and then we're just going to paint them. These will also need another layer, and I do believe that I show that later on. So turning the table again back over to where we were, I am going to take the gray and brown foam and I'm going to cut it. So take your ruler, we're going to make it the exact size of the ruler, so line it up with the outside of the foam and just give it a nice hard press. I don't cut it hard enough so the brown doesn't go all the way through, I do have to cut it again. But the silver cuts super nicely, and make sure you're cutting on a surface that you're okay with destroying. I'm cutting on my old table that I do all of my crafts on, so it's already pretty damaged. Alrighty. So setting the old pieces aside and the brown piece, we are going to take this, and I know it's already gray, but it definitely doesn't have that shine that I want it to have, so I'm going to be painting it with 1 layer of silver paint to give it just a little bit of shine so it looks more like metal. Now I'm going to set that aside. And I am going to take the brown foam and I'm going to cut it into even squares. You'll need 4 of them. Make sure that they're as even as possible. Yay, 4 squares. Alrighty, so now we're going to take our black clips and our elastic, cut the elastic into 2 perfect halves, and I mean from here it's pretty much self-explanatory. We're going to be sewing across the bottom to sew it to the clip. There we go, and then we've got to do that 4 times, and you'll want 2 packages of elastics. I use 1 for each clip. So there's 1 pack of elastics on 1 clip. Alrighty, so we're going in for our second layer of paint. Try and do the paint as quickly as you can in between the processes of all the things you have to do that don't involve drying time. Now I'm going to take my black paint and a foam sponge, and I am going to tape these little things to the table so they don't shift around and move while I'm painting them. I'm going to pour a little paint into my plastic cup and use this sponge. I'm going to dilute the color on, actually I end up doing it on my hand because it lets me evenly distribute it across my hand and then onto the foam. So I'm going to do that for all 4 of them to give them like an old worn down texture. Alrighty, back onto the mask. We're going in for our 3rd layer of paint, and you can see the paint is taking super nicely. Found out that my Sharpie was dead, so I had to go to the store and I had to buy a new one. So I'd already put the lines on this, but because the Sharpie was dead, they didn't show up super well, so here I am going over it again. So just do some lines on the silver piece that we cut out earlier. Now we're going to be cutting one that's a little tiny bit thinner, and we're going to be taping that to the inside eventually, so just set that aside. And now we're going to be taping these little googly eyes, or not taping, sorry, gluing these little googly eyes to these brown pieces. There will be 4 on each of them. Yay, 4 of them. So those pieces are now done. We're going to set them aside and we're going to go in with our Sharpie on our mask. We're going to be creating the line art of his like purple to white area on his mask. I know I cut it off a little bit. It's really hard to like work in front of a camera. And my Sharpie was dying because I made the mistake of buying them at the dollar store and they were basically dead. You can see all the lines on my hand. So I made the Sharpie expand a little bit when it came to the outside of the eye and around the head and around the cheek. I just brought the Sharpie out a little bit so it looks kind of cracked. I think it looks great. It's a little aesthetic. So now we're going to do the lines on the inside of the mask. Make sure that when you do this part, you are doing it on the inside. You do not want to be doing this part from the outside because you will slip. As you can see, I've already done a few times. You will slip and you will leave lines, and I don't want you to leave lines on the mask. Now, this is the hard part to me. Doing the mouth, you have to try and draw a straight line. This really is all up to you and your steady hand. Please try not to be slow, just do a quick line and then you can fix it up afterwards. Try to make it like as even as possible. I make mine not frowning, but not smiling, kind of like in between, a tiny, tiny bit turned down. I do a line under the mouth and under the eyes, and this is what it looks like so far. So now we're going to put the elastic on the mask. I put it on my head and then I tighten it, just like this, to see how tight it needs to be. Position it and then unclip it. And now, again, self-explanatory, we're going to be sewing each piece to the mask. And this is what it looks like after I'm finished sewing it. And all 4 of them are on now. Normally when I cosplay him, I don't use the bottom clips, but it's good to show their functionality anyway. So now we've got like a little bit of double chin going on and the mask looks like it's really tiny on my face. That sucks. So we're going to be fixing that. So that silver piece that you made before, we are going to be putting that on the outside of the mask. We want to put it flush with the elastic so you can just not see the elastic. We don't want this to take up too much space on the mask. We want it to cover up around our face. So hot glue the side and stick it down, and then even it out to the opposite side before you glue the chin down. We're going to be gluing down the opposite side of it, and then we're going to take our glue gun and we're going to fill in the spaces, and then we're going to slowly just mold it down as best as we can, because the way the chin is shaped, we are not going to get it perfect. We're just going to mold it as best as we can and hope that the heat from the hot glue gun will help mold the foam into the perfect shape of the face. This is a little bit of a process, so please be patient. Just hot glue and press. Try to keep the glue inside of the foam. Alrighty, so that's perfect. And now we're going to take our scissors and we're going to cut the top off. Make them nice and even and clean. And now these little things that we made, you want to line them up with the elastics and glue them on. And that's perfect. That's exactly what we want. So now I'm going to be taking my black and or gray eyeshadow. I used black, gray, and brown, I believe. I'm going to just be doing a little bit of color underneath the nose, just to give it a little bit of shading. And then I'm going to also be putting a little bit on the mouth, just to, again, add a little bit of shading. It gives the mask a little bit of definition. It also kind of looks like a little scuff, which I think is really cool. I put it around the eyes as well, but only very lightly. So that piece that we cut out earlier that was a little bit smaller than the piece for the neck, we're going to be gluing onto the inside of the mask. You want it to be flush with the mask so that you can't see it while you're wearing the mask, but I promise you this is an important part, because if not, the mask will dig into your forehead and will cut you. So this part is imperative to me. So this is what it looks like. Yay! We're almost done. Now we're just going to try it on, make sure that it's comfortable. You'll want to get rid of any of the excess hot glue. It's very, very comfortable, very beautiful. Wow, some beautiful close-ups. We love that. The googly eyes look so good as little bolts on the side. I love that. Yay, all done. Hello, I apologize for the quality change. I forgot to do an outro yesterday. I just wanted to show off the mask one more time so that you guys can get a good idea of what it looks like. So I will be doing a giveaway for this one for anybody who might be interested. Please feel free to check out my Instagram page where I will be posting about it and how to enter. Besides that, thank you for watching. Feel free to leave a like or suggestion of any kind of content you would like to see on my YouTube channel. Now I have a nice camera, so I would like to actually post some things. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope that this helped. Bye!